Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, and thank you for your comments. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Somebody on my channel a few months back wrote in the comment section when I was doing a video about Black Americans and Africans again. She said, I wish that the government had never started letting Africans come to this country because it's not been anything but a conflict. Those people are not used to getting along with each other. They're not used to getting along with the people in their homeland. So I guess it was too much to ask that they would be able to come here and we would be able to get along with them. They don't know how to stay in their lane and they don't know how to mind their business. And when I say that, I know I'm speaking generally. There are Africans who come to this country who are wonderful people, wonderful neighbors, wonderful classmates. But it's enough of them that create conflict everywhere they go till you wish that they had never started coming. Then you wouldn't have to develop a negative attitude towards them. But I believe that Black Americans have developed a negative attitude towards Black immigrants, and I hate to see it because we really wanted them to come. Our ancestors wanted other Black people to come to this country, but they came over here saying that they weren't Black, running up to white people to tell white people that they weren't like us. They're not like those Black Americans. And the Jamaicans are lying now, pretending that they weren't divisive. But I remember when Jamaicans were running around here calling themselves Jamericans because they did not want to be identified with Black Americans or misidentified as a Black American. They were calling themselves Jamericans. And now that Black Americans are saying, okay, we give up. We can't get along with you people, so we're going to delineate, and you do you, and we'll do us. And that way, maybe we could get along better. I don't believe it can be done because these people don't know how to get along with their own people, let alone get along with Black Americans. But I came across this video on TikTok, and I think this young lady explains it better than I could. Why the conflict exists between Black Americans and Africans. And I do believe that the conflict is deeper with Black Americans and Africans than it is with Caribbeans, especially the Caribbeans in the United States. Now, the Caribbeans over there in the UK, that's a whole different story. And the Caribbeans, apparently the Jamaicans in Jamaica wanted to drag Black Americans into that whole mess that happened after the hurricane, saying that Black Americans were complaining about the food at the resort, when in fact something worse was going on in Jamaica, because when people were trying to bring supplies into the country to help the people who had really been devastated by that hurricane, the Jamaicans themselves were robbing the people and kidnapping the people and shaking the people down for money. That was not Black Americans. That was Jamaicans themselves doing that to their own people. I really need to point that out because we don't need to be in the dark about what these people are doing and then trying to blame stuff on Black Americans. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to let you listen to this young woman explaining why there's this conflict between Black Americans and Africans, but it goes for all of them that come here with that divisive attitude.
Can someone help me put this in words? Because people are arguing and they're actually making my point. African Americans aren't really African by mindset because they're in Africa. You have many tribes and many cultures, which is a beautiful thing, but you don't see yourself as one just because of your skin color. Whereas Black Americans, some call African Americans, see themselves as family, brother and sister. They see themselves as one in America. That's based on skin color. And they feel a responsibility to those people in America. Whereas you will have other black immigrants, other black people that will come in and identify as part of that group, but they don't feel the same responsibility to that group because that's not their mindset. So they take from the group, but they don't give back to the group. Okay? So can somebody write that? I know I had one brother that could understand me and write it so eloquently. But you guys, if you can help me articulate what I'm trying to say, thank you.
I think she articulated it very well. She said we don't have the same mindset. The word I would use is culture. We are culturally different. They have a every man for himself and God for us all mentality. And we come from a culture where we look out for each other. Even in the slavery days, they looked out for each other. That's how come I say I don't believe that we're the same people. I don't believe that they're our people because we don't have the same nature. They have a mentality where one person in the village will make a deal with the white man to come in and extract their resources. And that man in the village and his 4 or 5 family members will get rich, and the rest of the people will walk around poor and begging. And he won't have any compassion or sympathy for them. Now that's what I see in those people because that's how they act when they come here. And when you listen to them talk about how their parents raised them, that if they don't excel, then their parents don't give a shit about them. That is not the way our parents raised us. That is not the way Black Americans raise their children. My mother used to say, if he's good, he's my good child, and if he's bad, he's my bad child. Black people do not abandon their children or disown their children because they're not doctors or lawyers or have 5 degrees, many of which they didn't do anything but scam to get them. Our parents don't raise us like that. They don't think like that. We don't think that way about our own children. Do everything you can to help them, but if they fall down, you help them to get up again. That is how we are raised in Black America. That is not how those people see life, and that is not how they raise their children, and that is why they are the way they are. They have a dog-eat-dog mentality. Take from anybody that you can and only look out for yourself. And I think that exists in many of the cultures where there are majority Black people. They don't care about the other people. They only care about themselves and getting as close to white people as they can get. We do not have that culture or mindset, as she calls it. We do not. And what we have to remember as Black Americans is that this is our country. We tried. We extended the right hand of fellowship to these people, and it didn't work. Rather than focus on the fact that so many Black Americans have been open to friendship, have tried to help in the African countries, they rather focus on some bullshit about some African booty scratcher that many of us had never even heard of. So now they will have to find a way to negotiate with us, to get along with us. It's no longer a time for us to be trying to get along with them because it can't be done. They take your kindness for weakness. And I just heard somebody on a podcast saying, and I think it was the Alpha Network, I think that's what he calls it, that they are lying about that whole thing about the booty scratcher. I never heard of the term booty scratcher until I read the book Americana by a Nigerian writer. I have never called anybody an African booty scratcher in my life, and I don't know anybody who has. When I talk to the younger people in my family, they don't know anything about calling anybody any African booty scratcher. That's the first thing. And they also made another point. Africans don't permeate Black American communities, maybe in those coastal cities where they all flock to, but down here in the South, we don't interact with any Africans. I may have taught one African child the entire time that I taught school, and I taught school for a long time. I taught in a pre-K school in New York, and I taught in elementary and middle school in Alabama and Georgia. I taught in suburban Atlanta in Georgia. I remember one Liberian girl coming to our classroom. We didn't have a whole lot of Africans, so they just lying, trying to make it seem like they were around us all the time and going to school with us, and we were calling them African booty scratchers. That is a damn lie. That's something they made up. That's another thing about those Africans. They get a lie going, and all of them would tell the same lie. well, the white people were nicer to me than the black people, when they've never even been around any black people. So they don't do anything but lie. So we have no obligation to them, and the conflict will continue until they understand our culture. We are not obligated to learn their culture in the United States. When you go to their country, then you're required to learn their culture and how they do things. When they come here, they need to learn the culture and the history of the United States of America. And if they're not willing to do that, then they're just going to be here on their own, because they're not going to be able to hide behind Black Americans any longer, because this generation after me is much tougher than my generation. My generation was the generation where we felt like we had to get along with everybody and that we had to make concessions to get along with everybody. But this generation has the right idea. You don't have to change anything about yourself in your homeland because somebody else showed up. So the conflict between Black Americans and Africans exists because they don't feel like they have to come to another country and learn about the culture and the history of the people, that they can come here and operate on stereotypes. And I think that day is over. But anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about this. Thank you for listening and have a good day.